For years, in TF2, an unusual has been an item that so many people have strived after. So many people have worked tirelessly in trading servers to try and get one. And people have spent thousands of dollars on a singular hat with a nice effect, which really got me thinking, are unusuals pay to win? For those of you who don't know, pay to win basically means that you can purchase an in-game item or something like that, which gives you a considerable advantage against the people who don't want to pay for that item. Maybe not even like they don't want to pay for the item. Maybe they can't, maybe they don't have money, maybe they're a bit younger and their parents won't let them spend money on a game, but generally, it's quite a looked down on thing in gaming. People can pay to basically have better stuff, which makes them better at the game, and, you know, it just screws over all the people who don't have that. Anyway, if you are new to the channel and you go on to enjoy this video, I'd really appreciate it if you click the sub button. I'd love to see if we can hit like 110,000 subscribers soon. That's the next goal I want to hit, so it would mean a lot if you can help me get there. So I think, like any argument, there's two sides to this question. The side that agrees that unusuals are paid to win, and those who think unusuals are paid to lose. So you're buying something and it actually gives you a disadvantage. So let's start with some of the reasons that unusuals might be considered a pay-to-win feature in TF2. The first point I have is that unusuals generally seem to get you more heals when you're in-game. Medics generally tend to gravitate towards players who have unusuals because it gives off the idea that this player is better at the game, they've spent longer in it, so they know more about what they're actually doing. Now, this might not even be true. I think I'm a perfect example of that. I'm not amazing at the game, but I have unusuals. But generally, people who have an unusual are the people who have invested more time into the game and potentially are the ones taking the game more seriously and investing real money into it to buy themselves nice things. So in a lot of cases, yes, people who own unusuals have been playing a lot longer than people who might not have unusuals, but there's loads of good people who don't have unusuals and there's loads of bad people who do have unusuals. I don't think a lot of the time it actually does mean that person is better at the game. A lot of the time they might be because some of the players in the server without unusuals are just newer, but they still get more heals. So I think that means it's fairly pay to win. Okay, so another pay to win aspect of the unusuals is actually quite a similar one to the fact that medics will gravitate towards that player, but this time the enemy might get distracted by your unusual, or they will worry that you're just a really good player and you're about to destroy them, and they will overthink the whole fight, making it slightly easier for you to get the win. I know for sure that when I was newer to the game, whenever I saw somebody with a nice unusual on, I tried to avoid them because generally they just tended to absolutely destroy me whenever I got near them, and if I wanted to live longer than 2 seconds, I'd learned to stay away from them. That's not so much the case anymore since there's so many unusuals and there's so many more people playing, and unusuals are just way easier to get now, so I don't think the same standards really hold themselves. Does that make any sense? But I think if I did it, there's probably like hundreds of other people who either have done the same thing or still do the same thing as to what I was doing back then, which is one of the positive effects of wearing an unusual a lot of the time, is that some fights just end up being a little bit easier because that person gets scared, they psych themselves out, or they get distracted. Anyway, let's flip this over real quick to the pay to lose side. So literally carrying on from the last point, there's some people who do get scared of seeing an unusual, that is true, but there's also a lot of people that once they see an unusual, they end up targeting that player for almost the whole game. Now, this might not actually be on purpose, but because unusuals are so much easier to see and so much easier to notice, you might end up running over to that person way more often to fight them and try and beat them. Because I like to just run around in TF2 picking fights, so if I see an unusual, most likely I'm going to look at what they're doing rather than somebody who doesn't have any hats, unless they're literally like on my way there. It's just what your eye is drawn to. It's not like a discriminatory thing. It's literally just you see the bright unusual effect. You don't always notice too much like the scout with no hats on, doing whatever the hell it is the scouts who don't wear hats do. So for the person who is wearing that unusual, you're probably going to have a harder time because there will be a couple more people in the game who want to fight you purely because of the hat you're wearing, purely because you're a little bit more noticeable. So you might actually have a harder time fighting enemies because there'll be so much more of them around you all the time. As long as you've not got a nice unusual and you're a YouTuber and have your Twitch link in your name, generally you should be okay. I don't think they target you that much, but God, if you have your Twitch name, you're a YouTuber, and a nice unusual, it is over for you. And I think like the biggest point of why unusuals are pay to lose is you're basically wearing a beacon on your head that lets everyone in the server know where you are. Now, obviously, it's not quite the same if you've got a masked flyers unusual on, because you can barely see that anyway. But even if you had something like Blizzardy Storm, which is still a fairly cheap effect, or like Bubbling as well, another cheap effect, they're quite noticeable. So even with cheap effects, you're going to be seen from way further away than you might have been if you didn't have that hat. I think some great examples of this is if you're playing Spy, a lot of the time when you're wearing like a big burning effect or one of the energy effects on the Spy, you might find that as you're going invisible or like running away from cover or something like that, someone will notice the effect who might not have seen you hiding if you didn't have that, and you end up getting killed, or you end up not being able to do what you're meant to be doing because somebody's hunting you down. It just makes your life just that tiny little bit harder. Even if they would have seen you without the unusual, it's just way easier to when you do have an unusual on. Another example is on Sniper. So if you're fighting the enemy Sniper, you always have to try and act quicker than the other guy. Now, if they can really easily see where your head is because of your unusual, they're going to have a much better time in that fight because they're going to be able to see your head straight away. And you might be at a disadvantage because you still need to find where the Sniper is and then aim at his head, and he has a massive light on you showing him where to click. I do think on some classes this kind of thing doesn't matter that much. I can't imagine a soldier really worrying too much that his unusual is giving him away, because a lot of the time he's in everybody's faces, he's jumping around, he's hard to hit regardless. So I don't think on certain classes it matters as much, but for Spy, Sniper, and even Medic, like, it is really difficult because, you know, they're classes that rely on maybe not being seen the most. So I mean, for those classes, you might not want to wear something that flashy. Or you wear too many flashy things so that your head is actually harder to see, but that's really expensive, so that might not be an option. Generally, I haven't noticed too much problems with people being able to easily see where I am. I'm somebody who likes to play every single TF2 match like a death match, so I'm just running around picking fights regardless. So for me, it doesn't matter as much, but if you're playing the objective and you're like hiding on a cart or something like that, or on a point, then having a bright unusual effect might give you away a little bit. So where do I stand in this whole argument? Personally, I like wearing unusuals. I don't think that's really a secret. I am aware that sometimes they give me a little bit of a disadvantage against snipers and all of that stuff, but I don't think that's going to stop me wearing them anytime soon. Maybe if I ever got into competitive, I might not wear them when I know there's a sniper, or I know there's another high priority person who's trying to kill me. But right now I don't play comp. I'm literally playing casual servers, so I don't think it makes too big of a difference in the vast majority of servers that I'm part of. And I honestly think that most unusual wearers are the same, but now you might be aware more of the advantages and disadvantages of wearing an unusual. You look cool, you might get more heals, and some people might be scared of you, but you also have some people who try harder against you because they want to kill you, and literally everyone knows where you are at all times. So anyway, that is going to do it for the video. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure you leave this video a like and also subscribe to the channel if you're new. Like I said at the start, I'm trying to hit 110k subscribers as soon as possible. So if you could click the subscribe button for me, I'd really appreciate it. Also, if you want, you can go down below in the description and grab yourselves some Spikey Mikey stickers. I think they look sick and they directly support me and the channel. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and I will see you all next time. Goodbye.